We'd like to cover the toner cartridge itself and take a look at the components within that cartridge so that when we take a look at how the toner cartridge actually functions, it'll all make more sense. The two components are the toner hopper and the waste hopper. Taking a look first at the toner hopper itself, and obviously this contains the toner. It also contains the magnetic roller. The function of the mag roller is to transfer the toner from the toner hopper to the drum. And the magnetic roller rides on two bushings. The purpose of the bushings is to ensure that the mag roller does not physically contact the drum. It also contains a doctor blade, and the function of the doctor blade is to control the amount of toner that is released from the toner hopper and made available to transfer to the drum. The other major component to the toner cartridge itself is the waste hopper. The waste hopper contains the primary charge roller, or PCR. The function of that is to actually put a charge on the surface of the OPC drum. And that's the second component, is the drum itself. There also in the waste hopper is a wiper blade. The function of the wiper blade is to rub directly onto the drum so that any toner that is not transferred to the paper is cleaned off the drum and the waste is deposited into the waste hopper. The waste hopper also contains a recovery blade, and the recovery blade's function is to maintain and make sure that the toner that goes in the waste hopper stays there and does not leak out. The toner itself is an extremely fine substance and almost flows like water. The micron toner is so small. But each toner is actually different depending on the speed of the printer for which the toner is manufactured for. Let's take a look at basically how a toner cartridge works. First of all, as the drum rotates, the primary charge roller will put a charge on the entire surface of the drum. As it continues to rotate, the laser beam then leaves the electronic image of what will be on the paper is now on the surface of the drum. As the drum continues to rotate, it passes the magnetic roller. And because of the charge on the drum and the magnetic charge of the toner itself, they adhere to each other as they pass by each other. And the toner actually jumps from the mag roller onto the drum. If you were to stop it and actually look at the drum, you could now see on the surface of the drum the image that ultimately will go to the paper because the toner has adhered to that electronically. As the drum continues to roll, within the printer is a transfer corona assembly, and it pulls the toner off the drum. And as the paper passes by the drum, it sort of gets in the way of the transfer corona assembly, pulling the toner off the page, and it lands on the paper as the paper passes by. Then the paper continues over inside the printer to go through the fusing assembly, and that actually bakes the toner onto the paper. But at this point, as the drum continues to rotate, the electronic image is still on that drum, but the toner has been removed, or the significant amount of the toner has been removed. Then it passes by, and the wiper blade then wipes off the excess toner that falls down into the waste hopper between the opening and the recovery blade. Then the drum continues around again and is totally recharged. Then it's imaged. The toner is transferred to the image. The image then rotates around and is pulled off by the transfer assembly and onto the paper as the paper rolls by the drum. The fuser, it bakes the toner to the paper, and the drum continues around with the excess toner again falling in the waste hopper, and it's recharged. Generally speaking, this will happen about 3 rotations of the drum for each page printed. Most printers that print 8.5 by 11 will print this way. Many of the wide format printers will print this way on the piece of paper. And if we take a look and understand how the printer works, then we can take a look at potential problems and identify what within the cartridge is causing the problem. For example, if you had a very thin line coming down the paper, may indicate that there's a small nick in the wiper blade and the excess toner that wasn't transferred onto the paper was not wiped off, and it appeared on the following piece of paper. Defects in the cartridge will be almost always exactly lining up with each other because it's a repetitive situation. There is one, and that is that if there's some speckling on the paper that is not exactly repeating itself, that could be the sign of a recovery blade not allowing the waste to fall into the waste hopper. It accumulates in the toner and randomly falls on the piece of paper. If there's a more rapidly repeating defect on the print, by knowing the circumference of the mag roller or the circumference of the PCR, it can determine which component is causing that, because they are all smaller than the drum and will repeat more often. You really can't guarantee the yield of a cartridge, although every cartridge has a standard industry accepted formula for achieving it. But when one actually prints, there's two determining factors as to what type of yield they will get from the cartridge. The first one, obviously, is what they're printing. How much toner is being used on each piece of paper. For example, if you're printing a lot of solids and halftones, you are not going to get nearly the yield of a printer whose function is to maybe print 2 or 3 lines on a piece of paper. So the first component is what you're printing. The second component that helps determine yield and the wear and tear on a cartridge is how you print. By that I mean, if you printed one page 100 times, that would be significantly different than if you printed one print of 100 different originals. The reason being is that if you print 100 continuous prints, you would have 1 rotation to start the cartridge, you'd have 3 rotations for each print, and 1 at the end to cycle down the printer, which would yield you 302 revolutions. If you took those same 100 prints and printed them one at a time, you would have the startup rotation, the 3 rotations for the print, and the rotation to slow it down. So in that case, you'd have the 3 rotations for each page, that's 300. Plus you'd have a start up and a start down for each print, or another 200. So the first scenario you would have 302 rotations. In the second scenario you'd have 500 rotations. And if you combine the way you print with what you actually print, the variance in yield on a cartridge and the wear and tear on the cartridge can be significantly different from printer to printer. At Laser Options, in our manufacturing department, we do not use the assembly line technique, we batch produce them. This gives accountability to each tech for the cartridges that they make, and we feel provides better quality control and pride in the product they produce. Each tech then will pick up a cart with approximately 20 cartridges on it that need to be remanufactured. The first thing he'll do is to separate them into both the toner and waste hopper, and then remove the components out of the toner and waste hopper. The 2 hoppers then are taken to our cleaning room, where they're blown out with compressed air, and all the airborne toner is removed from the facility to a turret system outside the building. The compressed air system is less invasive on the cartridge and ensures that it'll get cleaned properly, yet not damage anything within the cartridge. The components that can be reused are taken to the cleaning station. We use ultrasonic cleaners to clean all of the small components, the gears, the bushings, the stabilizer bearings that are in the cartridge, so that they are totally cleaned each time. Then the process of reassembling takes place, where the toner is added, and we have our own designed downdraft system to ensure that any airborne toner is removed from the facility. After the toner has been properly loaded into the cartridge, the mag rollers inserted, the doctor blades inserted, waste hopper is then loaded with the drum, the PCR, and the wiper blade. These two components then are reassembled together and taken over to our testing department. Now, in the testing area, we at Laser Options test every single cartridge in the appropriate printer, so we know that when that cartridge is completed, it's performing to its maximum. We have a printer for every style, both black and white printers and the color laser printers. We use a system that creates a variety of test prints so that we can test and stress that cartridge to ensure that when it's in the customer's location, it's going to perform to the maximum. After the cartridge has been tested and passed our tests, the test print actually goes with the cartridge over to be bagged, chipped, boxed, so that every cartridge that has the actual test print that cartridge produced in our printer. If the cartridge test prints are not satisfactory, they're returned with the test print to the original service or manufacturing technician, who's responsible then for determining the problem and remanufacturing it again until it does pass our stringent quality control requirements. At Laser Options, we take great pride in the fact that we recycle, and we are part of the sustainability movement in keeping these toner cartridges out of the landfills. We reuse the boxes where we can. We recycle the cardboard if it's used. We also recycle the aluminum drums. We recycle the aluminum mag roller sleeves. We also recycle the wiper blades, doctor blades, and PCRs to ensure that they don't end up in our landfills.
Imaging International Council, along with the Standardized Test Methods Committee, has certified that Laser Options has successfully completed the prescribed course of training and demonstrated competence in toner cartridge remanufacturing. There are only approximately 250 companies in more than 50 countries that have the STMC certification. The STMC symbol has been the remanufacturing industry's sign of quality. It lets Laser Option customers know that their toner cartridge has been tested to specific standards. This certification is a recognition of Laser Option's commitment to consistent quality for our customers.
All departments at Laser Options, from sales, administration, our service department, delivery technicians, and manufacturing, all strive on a daily basis to provide a high-quality cartridge and a positive business experience.